Thank you, Digital Dragons, for inviting me. It's my first time in Poland. I've never been here before, so it's a new trip for me, and it's really good to meet everyone here in Krakow. I'm very excited. I hope this presentation will be useful for you. We'll talk about future-proofing growth marketing, structure, and operations as part of the journey that we are embracing today at DREST with our small team on marketing side. There is a larger expanded team elsewhere with the rest of the company, but let's go with that. So a bit about my experience. I've been in the industry 12 years or so, throughout the various companies. I started as a startup that was acquired, then moved to arcade games at Miniclip. At Space Ape, I worked on Transformers and have launched two new games and one existing. I split in this side when it kind of splits between maintaining the live and launching brand new games, whether it's AAA IP or regular IP. At Ubisoft, we were lucky enough to launch 9 new games within the 3-year span. Obviously, developers out there studios were building these games for years, and then within just 3 years, we launched 9. 5 of them were AAA IPs. Then recently moved to Product Madness, one of your sponsors, that has at that time had 4 slots games that we worked on, all live, and right now I'm at DREST. I discovered a new subgenre that I have never worked with before across the board, and it's a fashion styling game. A bit, when I'm not working, usually hiking the mountains. That's me and my partner. And yeah, travel around the world. Just you can find me in the mountains, or working in my spare time on a non-profit organization, because as part of the experience, I want to give back to community as well and share the information that we learn with other developers and marketeers across the board, whether it's gaming or non-gaming. And throughout the years, we create this community and we organize a non-profit event once a year in London. So today, in this presentation, I'd like to talk about the introduction of our challenge as a team, then how we managed to test our hypotheses with flipping the structure of the team, focusing on organics. We are going to highlight the potential risks, and hopefully you'll have some key takeaways as well. Let's talk through the introduction. So DREST is a fashion styling game that features a lot of high-end luxury brands that are also present in our real life. We work with more than 300 high-end luxury brands throughout the world. It's very diverse from different geographies. And the most common, the most probably known ones would be Cartier, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and a few others out there. So what you normally do, you would go into the game and you would style an outfit with different components, whether it's clothes, shoes, accessories, makeup, and it would feature brands as well. Time to time, we work with famous talent. Right here, you can see that's Kate Moss. It's one of the known top models in the UK and a few other countries, but we also worked with a number of other top models or celebrities as well as part of the game. So the typical user journey, excuse me. So typical journey here for an end user, for us, looks that most of the times you start with an ad, or you see an impression somewhere. The first part would be watching an ad. Then you would go through your store page and they would explore the store page, then hopefully install the game. That's a loading screen. Then it goes into engaging with CRM communications and eventually maybe customer support if they have any questions or issues or anything like that. So that's what you see from the forefront. Let's take a look what it looks like at the back end. At the back, the classical mobile games marketing is very fragmented and it has loads of components that normally, unless you are in the team, you don't really know, just because it's probably the same way as programming. I don't know, there's so many other plugins and codes and stuff. I don't know all of that. But that's what it looks like on our side. And when you have a large enough company or a larger amount of ad spend and operations and revenue, you would typically, historically, would have, let's say, sub-department for each one of their functions. And the challenge here, let's look at the challenge. So with this approach, and it's very traditional, like traditional in mobile games, functional structure increases demand for resources that we don't always have. And our company is still quite small, so we need to be resourceful. Then it also gives much flexibility to grab additional responsibility. Let's say you have someone young and hungry who's really smart and can do more than one thing on these metrics, but just because you have a function there already, it becomes kind of awkward. Maybe sometimes, maybe not. Sorry. And the last but not least, those sometimes, and I've seen that in the past, when some of the team members just get bored at some point and they would move on, and that's when you churn your talent as well in the group. So looking at the past few years, you've all heard of machine learning, obviously, but how it hit marketeers in our sense, because without that, things were different. So there are 5 main things. Number one, all of the traditional targeting became obsolete and was replaced with automated optimization, which was great because we did so much manual stuff, it was not fun. So that was a good thing. Then it required predictive analysis techniques. So certain teams that didn't have enough data resources, or let's say some specific modeling techniques that they didn't employ at that time, they had to work on it. But those who did already, for them it was like, okay, we'll just continue as we are. Then the fourth is capitalizing on benefiting the player personas research. So in this case, now all of the traditional likes and interests and whatever did not matter anymore. But what mattered is that you research your audience, you understand what they like, what they engage with. It's connected to product, and also you kind of create personas of your player base in several segments. And then you try to apply it through our marketing activities. And the last but not least, it put a significant value and weight on the creative production, creative for marketing. I don't mean creative, any creative. Majority of it is 95% is video, and then some of it is static, but majority of the statics go into App Store pages and your Play Store pages. Next, then we all heard about Apple's privacy. I don't want to talk about it anymore, but what it looks like and what it looks like right now. Like all of these things were equally possible before iOS 14 and ATT enforcement. So in the past 2 years, marketeers also evolved. And then we understood that there are certain things that were no longer possible. So pretty much on iOS everything is blended and very limited targeting, and you are relying on scan schema that you set up and try, and you try and test. But then you need to think outside the box a lot more. You need to connect to the player personas. You need to look at probabilistic analysis, but also you keep looking at what's available on Android, and you kind of some of it test on Android and then apply it to iOS if possible. In reality, it's not identical, but that's all you have right now. And then this year is about AI. I personally like it, and everyone in our team like it. But it does bring a challenge as well. So we employed some of it on our marketing activities internally to help us be lean and mean and try to get things done without needing to, hire more people just because we couldn't do jobs. And things like marketing text copies, research, consumer stats, that's pretty good. I personally like Agent GPT because it gets things done pretty quickly, not too complex maybe, but basic things. Last but not least is creative production assistance. So we have a challenge right now. We have a second game in the soft launch, and our forecast of creative production, majority of this video animation, is insane. So if we want to be successful to a certain extent, by end of this year, we would have tested 1,750 creatives. So naturally, our CFO is never going to approve 40 artists. He's going to say, you go to hell, right? So we are exploring what can we do with external partners, but also if there is any part of the task can be done by AI tools that are made for creative. So far, our creative team and us in the team also, we've tried these to a certain extent, deeper or just higher level. But I actually want to use the opportunity and ask all of you, maybe later on you can tell me if you tried anything more than that. And I'm looking for tools on creative that help with creative production for video ads basically, because that's our biggest usage. So maybe we can talk later about that. And the main areas in our team and the main challenges it kind of brings, because I'm thinking about the youngsters out there who would like to get into gaming. Let's say maybe some of them would like to get into games marketing or anything like that. What kind of tools, what kind of skills they need to gain, and also what is impactful for us in our team. And there are 3 areas that come to mind. That's marketing creative, data analysis, and just being able to use any of the AI tools. So the creative part would help you optimize your targeting using personas. And you have to use tagging. It's really annoying, and I haven't seen the automation around that yet. But if you have your creative naming conventions with separated with underscores, that kind of schema, really regimented in practice, that helps your analysis great amount. And very important to have a testing framework that's been tested several times and that works for you, because not every testing framework is good for everybody. You have to find your own. When it comes to data analysis, connecting everything to simple ROAS, return on ad spend. I know it sounds dumb, but it's literally return on ad spend, everything you do. So connecting pretty much in a business sense, everything to it, even creative production, the cost of production is very important because it makes you think in a slightly different way. You treat your time as money, you treat your creative production as money, everything goes back to that so you can be cost effective and profitable eventually. Now, more than ever, player behavior is very, very important. Study your personas. We had to do lots of studying in our team. I'm looking at Gasha because she's in my team. So we had to do a lot of studying and learning about our personas. So far, we have 6. Probably by the time we globally launch with the second game, we're going to discover a few more. But it was very insightful. It augmented our marketing messaging as well. And last but not least, always include macro environment impact. I mean, who knew? Energy prices go up, cost of living, and everything. And guess what? Games' share of wallet with regular players has decreased. They have to make choices. So for that reason, we do need to include that into calculation. We do need to include that into predictive LTV. And we need to make assumptions that that needs to be changed as well. And maybe onboarding on the product side, FTE could be adjusted too. The last one, I just put it there because some people are still denying AI. Just embrace it, Jesus. So what does it look like when we decided to flip our team structure based on all those challenges? What it looked like is this. We've managed to put 2 sections, new users and existing users. Because looking at the functions, all of the functions that I showed previously, there's a lot, right? And looking at us, like, okay, we only have a few people, and we need to make sure all of that gets done because it's important, and that will help us bring new users to our new game. And somehow we need to take care of all of these things. So instead of thinking functionally, we flip the journey to the end user, to the player journey. Because the main difference for player journey is when they come in, how they discovery of the game, and then how we handle the conversation afterwards, which means not only first-time user experience, tutorial complete, and so on, and day 1 to 3, whatever retention, but also what we are doing with product marketing, the CRM side notifications, segmentation, any kind of personalized messaging, how we handle them with customer support as well, and how do we send them custom options to monetize, whether it's packaging or some particular gifts, whatever other treatments that we do to keep players engaged. So for now, these are the activities that we have covered so far on both sides. And here at the top are the shared areas, because we also identified that some of the areas cannot be assigned to new or existing users, and they're important for both. So we make sure that we team up on that and put our efforts into that together. So this brings to another part. What we also discovered in this, that cross-functionality with other teams is very important. The areas that are highlighted in red, these are the times when we really needed to work with other teams. And other teams that mean product and tech, data analysis and data warehouse teams, whether it's engineering or science. Then content production, that everything else that comes out of the product, all the fashion items, events, any kind of live ops events that's scheduled on the product side, anything else. And that touched on a lot of those areas. So we identified that it is really, really important. We found a way how to be lean and mean, but what's important that we now collaborate with other teams as well to make it work. Sorry, it's so let's see what it would look like. On the user side, we have covered all of these things, and it starts with creative, UA, ASO. We have done lots of research. We've built a player panel program when we learned about our players, but we also found a way to recruit them by various channels so that they can playtest Clouded for us. So we can recruit, put them into playtest Cloud, or use an existing user base there and have qualitative research for our product, for our new game. Also, platform partnerships, Google, Apple, whatever other platforms you're on. It's important to keep it a marketing team just because all the information the platforms require usually include a lot of marketing material that you need. And brand advertising when it comes. We haven't done that yet. And a typical journey focuses on onboarding experience, because typically you see an ad, you go into similar way that I showed earlier, store page, you install the app, you become a user, and you have your ID that we assigned to you, and you open an event. Then what happens next? And these are the things that marketing team didn't have to take care of. I don't mean the coding part of it, but creating a Jira task, making sure that happens, and that's planned as well in every sprint. The privacy pop-up, the GDPR pop-up, that loading screen, making sure all the notifications, the allowance and push notifications also happened at the same time, obviously in sequence, but close enough so we can track it early. And then going into first-time user experience with a welcome screen and everything that comes with it. Because we now know that if we do just a little bit more, that would help us to market our games better later. And on the existing user side, so once the new users become existing users, on CRM and product marketing side, it starts from here. So with CRM systems that we have integrated, team takes care of education. That means some of the notifications and content cards and anything that's done inside the app without leaving helps them to learn how to play. Maybe discover new content that I haven't seen before. Then working on retention as well, excite them with new offers that they haven't seen or anything else that might have engaged those users. At some point in time, CRM team will find out that some of the users have churned or maybe about to churn, receive some sort of data point that indicates that. So they would send notifications there as well. Some personalized messaging with creative, with text copy, and having more customized approach. And at some point in time, they would hit them with upselling offers as well. So also depends whoever has that kind of player behavior at that time. This is quite busy, actually. I wasn't sure if I'm going to keep it, but I think it's important because throughout all of those things, it kind of helped us to also highlight what do we need to measure. So the areas of the user funnel, new user and existing user. So if it is at the beginning or later or completely at the end, or with iOS, you don't know because it's all scanned now, right, blended. But here are the typical metrics that we would use to help us inform that activity. And this is a business impact. Some of it is cross-functional with other teams like product and tech, and some of them are just assigned for marketing impact. So this year also, we decided that we need to focus on organics. Because of cost of living, and CPIs keep going up, they do it every year, so that doesn't change. We need to find a way, how can we get more organics? So some of you might think organics don't exist because without marketing, nobody is discovering anything, which is true. But let's say the organics that we can't attribute in the right way. So we all know the year-on-year from 21 to 22, the revenue's gone down across almost every game genre and subgenre, and that's not news. And again, as I said, eCPIs keeps rising everywhere. So we need to think outside the box. And some of the things and initiatives that we started internally with several departments, and that's our cross-functional collaboration with product and tech, data warehouse, and editorial content. Couple of things with product. We went into a room and I said, look, we need to identify any kind of features that we can collaboratively work on. We are not product designers, so we are asking for help because we want to bring new users, but they're so expensive now and it's just not profitable. We need to find a way, how can we do it better? So we worked on several ideas to do with social, referrals, VIP program, brand collaborations, and a few more to identify which ones we can prioritize at the top and hope that we can, forecast some portion of organic or bring us some organics once we do it. Then also, this specifically was marketing request because, with the with iOS scan schema threshold, you need to wait until a certain amount of conversions until you start seeing the data. So if your game designed not to prompt player to monetize with in-app purchases early enough, you have almost no chance to see that information. And we all tested different kinds of schemas with early engagement level, something, I don't know, we all tried that. And then the only thing that works until now is the in-app purchase revenue. So we had a request to product, so can we cook up some sort of pilot, some sort of test to see can we test an earlier monetization prompt within the first, let's say, 24 to 48 hours, 24 ideally better. And it doesn't matter if it's like high purchase or low purchase. It could be $1 for all I know. At least that way we can get a signal that this player can pay or identifies themselves as a payer. And that was a piece of information that we can carry over further, and that should help. So something like that. With data warehouse, we're working still continuously. We finished with restructuring and rebuilding our first game data warehouse, and now halfway through to the second one, because the second game just still in soft launch. And adding contextual data to all of the labels that we have inside data warehouse for second game, because we are no longer relying on anything that's going to stay the same. Yes, we still have GAID on Android, but we might not. We don't know what's going to come with Android Sandbox. that might be more likely to be removed. So we don't want to rely on something that is sensitive, and we are putting contextual data into our analysis moving forward. And we're putting, this last one, haven't been done that, but we put that as a milestone. We want to make sure, because now the data is kind of not 100% as precise as it used to be, and a lot of it is quite aggregated, that kind of closed a lot of doors for deep analysis, but it opened doors for ability to connect to from new users to existing users a lot more cohesively than it was ever before. So now we can put behavioral and contextual data and connect the two. So the conversation flows when you get new player and they become an existing player. The conversation could be similar, tone of voice could be similar, customized messaging, customized approaches, offers, packaging, everything, hopefully. The last but not least, we have an editorial team that works with content, that everything that goes into the game visually and with the talent as well. So we're looking at these 4 areas of PR, talent, fashion communities, and brand partnerships with high-end luxury brands. So we hope that particularly that part would also be able to give us some additional level of organics, which we for sure will not be able to track ever, I think, with this one. But that's a close cross-collaboration that we do with the aim of getting organics. So as all sane people, we look at potential risks, because everything new has risks, and because we want to treat our time as money and make sure that what we bet our time on could be the most impactful, hopefully. And the 3 areas of risks that we lined up for ourselves are that at scale, our structure might not work. Because right now we're small in our team, not the whole company. It works, but maybe once we start spending millions and millions every month and every week, and making hopefully lots of millions as well, it might not work. But we'll look at it when it comes to it, and we'll see how we can tackle it, because right now it's actually pretty good. That ability to sustain a wider coverage with AI tools might not also work, because in our world of fashion and luxury, there's a big question about licensing and digital rights. So at the moment, there is no regulation for that. There is no law written for it. So we will need to keep an eye on it to make sure that when it comes, that we are compliant. Which means that if and when those tools will be removed, we will need to find a way how to do without it. If we need to, hopefully not, because we like it. And the people factor. Some people just not want to change or not want to collaborate. And something like that is always a risk. We'll see how to tackle that. But that's one of the things we always need to think about as well, so that we include. So that's about it. And have a couple of key takeaways. Oops, that's not me, sorry. Here you go. From today's presentation, and I hope that's useful for you, 3 things I want you to remember. That future-proofing your marketing activities and structure and operation is crucial for the future success. It's really, really important that you look at it earlier when you have time. Because once you get busy, once you grow and you start being successful, that's a time when you don't have time to look at it, or it's too late to fix certain things and bad habits. So doing it earlier, not necessarily hiring a full-blown team, but thinking about it, thinking about the structure is important. Then maximizing your cross-functional collaboration as a philosophy inside the company, inside your business, is really helpful. And it's something that should be promoted top-down. So hopefully the founders or whoever, the bosses in your companies should be thinking about that, because it's like a repetitive over and over message. And some people get it straight away and they jump on it. Some people follow later, and that's okay. That's normal. But maximizing that collaboration is super fruitful and useful for the business. And last but not least, exploring outside of the box, cost-effective activities, any ways to acquire, retain, monetize players. I can see you laughing. So we had a task inside our team, actually, because, again, cost of living, CPIs and everything, what else can we do? And I was actually quite surprised. We came up with about 15 to 20 different ideas of what else can we do. Not free, so that doesn't happen. It's not possible, unless somebody decides to put you into the famous movie, right? For no reason, just out of nothing. But not free, but much, let's say, more cost-effective test and try that everyone out there with some budget could do. And it's just something that maybe you can't always measure. It's something that you will need to find a way how to do it. But bringing new users, without traditional UA networks. Something else, something that can go popular, viral with, I don't know, on social network is one, but could also be in real life environment, event, could also be, I don't know, so many places, but that's what we did. And I think everyone should always think, and every marketeer should always think outside the box, because there is a structure that you can follow, but there is no structure that you don't have to follow, but something that you can actually do and test in a small amount of time and money and see if that works. Thank you.
Thank you, Saikala. Do we have questions, comments? This is hand up or not? No, I'm talking to you. It's like, yeah. Okay. Do we have comments? Definitely you should then talk to Saikala and Katie from DREST during the break. So thank you very much once again for your first presentation in Krakow at Digital Dragons.